Hi, I'm Nathan, and this is the AR Minute from AWE EU. Today I'm talking with Amir Baradaran. Let's get into it. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do in the Metaverse?
Yes, of course. So I started as an artist over a decade ago and was playing with AR. I worked with Metaverse, if you remember back in the day. So they would provide me with like a team of engineers and we would do public art projects back in the days, which was really exciting.
Yes.
I also taught at Columbia University for non-narrative formation. How do you create basically stories in AR? But a few years ago, Metaverse was acquired by Apple, and it really dawned on me that there are a lot of artists who would love to be part of the AR, VR kind of industry, but they don't have the technical know-how. So I decided to create a tool that takes away the entirety of coding, so it automates the whole thing. So you can basically create a lot of the functionalities that are very hard and take sometimes weeks. You can do them within minutes with our platform. So you can add characters, you can enable them with text-to-speech, you can add sound to it, you can add lighting, you can add movement and animation. You can basically build an entirety of the scene within minutes, and the learning curve for our platform is, maybe it takes a day or two.
I'm gonna have to see this. This
Yes.
is amazing. I'm super passionate in that space, and some of those things you described are not easy. We hear at AWE this question, this idea about dreams for the Metaverse. Do you have a dream for the Metaverse?
Yes, one that would be not replicating the inequity that exists in our world, but one that would perhaps allow for a more just and equitable place, perhaps. You see, technology does not happen in a vacuum, right?
Yes.
So whatever we create is imbued already by the social and cultural and economic forces of the place within which technology is created. So if we live already in a very unjust world, it's very easy to kind of see how the technologies that come from it or the projects that stem from it would kind of carry on that. So it really requires a very specific intention to say, we are going to build something that stands away from the power dynamics that are at stake already.
I couldn't agree more. That is fantastic. I really appreciate this idea of like the latent baggage from the previous technology has a tendency to want to like force its way into new ideas. So thank you for looking out for that. As somebody who's creating the Metaverse, what's your responsibility for addressing some of these sticky questions? And what are you doing about it in your work?
Well, one of the main things that I'm very much interested in, especially with regards to our startup, is the idea that we are going to be aggregating an enormous amount of data in order to make the project work. Yeah. And then the question is there any sense of governance when it comes to data collection and aggregation in the Metaverse, in AR and in VR spaces, and not yet, absolutely. As a matter of fact, to be honest, there is not much governance even in terms of overall data collection as we know it on the web. So if the AI that has been created through aggregation of data, through the mainstreaming and mass adoption of Web 2.0, if that AI has created a lot of inequalities, whereby we know the big tech owns the big data and runs its basically machines, which I call the storytellers or the algorithms, into that space, and there's this inequality that exists, then when spatial computing comes, then these narrow forms of AI that are created, so whether it's your natural language processing, whether it's your computer vision, whether it's your geolocations or whatever you have, in AR, all of these culminate into the same space. So basically your AR, your spatial artificial intelligence that I would call your SAI, can now see what you see, hear what you hear, move as you move inside the space, and the convergence of all of these things will create a sort of artificial intelligence that's way more powerful than the small, narrow types we have had. So as people who are in this new industry, we have a responsibility to think about what kind of AI we are going to create and who owns that AI and what's our relationship to it.
So congratulations, Amir. You've made it to the last question. It's a toughie. You need to fill in the blank. Yes. The future is?
Promising.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What makes you feel that way?
I think as much as we talked about the technologies of the past shape, the forms of future we are going to create, with every new technology, there are fissures that are created in the power dynamics of the spaces that are governing us. So in that space, I feel like AR and VR have the capacity of opening up some fissures through which we could then renegotiate our relationship as citizens, as digizens, as producers of data in relation to the kind of services that are provided to us. So it's very promising for me.
I love it. Amir, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been fantastic to have you on the AR Minute.